Hello, guys and girls of the internet. This is something else of YouTube, Mixer.com, and Twitch TV. Let me tell you a bit of a story. 5 years ago, in January of 2013, I decided to play through a Metal Gear Solid marathon. Now, back then, I was barely months in my YouTube kind of thing. It's not really a life or anything, but you know what I mean. I was kind of only maybe, I wasn't even a year into my kind of videos for YouTube. I hadn't even been doing it for a year yet. The new consoles were coming out later this year. I think Sony had already announced the PlayStation 4 almost maybe a month afterwards. I think it was like February when they announced it. In January, I actually decided to do a Metal Gear Solid marathon in kind of preparation for Metal Gear Rising, if you remember that game. That was coming out in February. So throughout January, I decided to do a Metal Gear Solid marathon. Now, it wasn't an entire one, because to the games I had were Metal Gear Solid 2 Sons of Liberty, Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater, and Metal Gear Solid 4 Guns of the Patriots. Excuse me. So I only had those three games, and I wasn't really keen on doing Peace Walker at the time, because I feel that Peace Walker I didn't particularly like, for various reasons. Really, because it just felt so jarringly different to other Metal Gear Solid games, and I just didn't like it. Now, I will do that one day. I think I have to, because after probably the next couple of months, Metal Gear Solid will almost be fully done on my channel again. But yeah, back then as well, I was a baby on YouTube kind of thing. I've barely been doing it for a year. Back then, I was only doing videos with a digital camera recording. I didn't have the direct capture setup I have now. That came a year later, when my channel rebooted in May of 2014. That's when direct capture became the feature of this channel. But at that point, I didn't have a PlayStation 3 or Xbox 360 anymore, because when the PlayStation 4 came out, I actually traded in those consoles and those games as well to gain the value. So I didn't, on a kind of game store card, so I didn't really have to pay anything for the console when it came out. PlayStation 4 was my console of choice. I think I got an Xbox One maybe about just over a year later or something. So when I rebooted the channel in 2014, I kept these playthroughs back. I kept the Metal Gear Solid Marathon back in from 2013. I kept it back, because I love the Metal Gear Solid series. I just love this series. And for the longest time, Metal Gear Solid 2 was actually the only Metal Gear Solid game I'd ever played. I'd never played the other ones before the Metal Gear Solid Marathon. So Metal Gear Solid 3 was going to be one of my first times playing the game. Actually, I take that back. I actually bought the Metal Gear Solid collection when it came out on the Xbox 360, because I never played Metal Gear Solid 3 before. That was a year before I even started on YouTube. So, yes, I have played that before. I kind of forgot about that for a second. But, yeah, they've stayed on there for such a long time. I always said, if I ever got an opportunity to play Metal Gear Solid with direct capture, I would immediately go back and do it. And here we are, 5 years later, on the Xbox One version. Thanks to backwards compatibility, we're about to delve back into the world of Metal Gear Solid, one of my favorite series of all time, made by the legend that is Hideo Kojima. And we're going to start with Metal Gear Solid 2, which, like I said, was for a long time my favorite Metal Gear Solid game, before Metal Gear Solid 4 took that position with the most amazing ending I have ever seen, which is probably the greatest ending I have ever seen. Now, will this same treatment go for Metal Gear Solid 1 and Metal Gear Solid 4? I don't really know. I hope so, but it's very unlikely, considering that there has been no HD collection or even just a port of the Metal Gear Solid games on PS4. There's been nothing to it. The closest I could get to doing it at this point would be to pick up a PlayStation 3 and get the Metal Gear Solid Legacy Collection on there, but unfortunately, many things in my life have changed since then, and I can't really afford to do that anymore. And on the PlayStation 3, that it has HDCP built into the console, so I'd have to buy a different capture card as well. I'd have to buy a different one, because the one I have, which is the HD60, doesn't have the port that's necessary to plug your PlayStation 3 in and do it through Ethernet. Not Ethernet. What's the word? AV cable. You know, I'm not able to do that, unfortunately. So it's very unlikely that I'll do Metal Gear Solid 2 and 4 and 1 again, unless they bring it out sometime on PS4, which they might do. But, you know, so much has changed since 5 years ago. Kojima's not with Konami anymore. There was a whole controversy about how Konami treated Kojima. I thought it was absolutely disgusting how they treated him, quite honestly. But that's a subject for a different matter. That's not the purpose of today and the start of this playthrough. So I'm not really going to go into that. I think the man's a legend, personally. You know, he created this series, and it was a damn good series. So I think I've got to give these games a justice. Like I said, I always had the intentions of going back to these if I got the chance, and here we are. So without wasting any more time, let's get to it. Now, we're going to do Metal Gear Solid 2 today, obviously, as it says in the title. Now, please be aware, I have not played Metal Gear Solid 2 or 3 since the playthroughs. The playthroughs were the last time I played these games. I loved Metal Gear Solid 2 that much that I have completed it multiple times. I'm not even joking. I had so many save files with so many different favorite parts of mine that I absolutely loved. So, you know, that's how much I loved playing this game. I adored it. It was actually one of my favorite. I think in a gameplay sense, I think Metal Gear Solid 2 is probably a little bit better than Metal Gear Solid 4, because Metal Gear Solid 4 was very different to Metal Gear Solid 2, actually. If Metal Gear Solid 4 played a lot like Metal Gear Solid 3 in the CQC and everything, Metal Gear Solid 2, I think I say that unfairly in a way, because, you know, I played Metal Gear Solid 2 Deliberately so much that I loved it that much. That I completed it multiple times. I, at one point, had multiple save files of the bosses. This game was just great to me. I loved it. And what's amazing is that you go back and you think about it now, and you think how much this game actually, in some weird way, predicted a lot of things that have happened today. You know, in America, when this game, I think it was when this game came out, in America there was a day of a worldwide protest against SOPA and PIPA bills that were going to be passed in the United States. And, you know, and this game kind of goes into that weirdly. Kojima probably got lucky in a lot of what he predicted during this game, but my god, we're gonna play it and you're gonna see so many things, and you're gonna think of it, oh my god, that's actually happening right now. So how did Kojima have the foresight for this? I don't know, but that's just the genius of the man, I guess. Alright, so after the Shadow Moses incident, technological data on the nuclear earned walking tank Metal Gear, that's from the first game, leaks into the black market. Solid Snake and his allies from the anti-Metal Gear NGO Philanthropy set out in pursuit of a tanker carrying the new Metal Gear prototype. But Snake falls into a trap led by former Foxhound member Ocelot and believed to be lost along with the tanker at the bottom of the Hudson River. 2 years later, the Big Shell, an oil cleanup facility constructed on the bay, is taken over by terrorists led by a man claiming to be the long-lost Solid Snake. The government sends Ryan, a new recruit, to the new Foxhound to infiltrate Big Shell, and rescue the US president, who is held hostage inside. So let's do it. Let's see how things went. It's probably just spoiled the entire game, but to be fair, everyone had already played this game. This was Metal Gear Solid 2 was one of the PlayStation 2 launch titles. That's how old this game is. It's amazing, isn't it? But this game is just it's so fun to play. The bosses are fun. The game as a whole is fun. The cutscenes and the dialogue, it's all so good for 2001. I think this is probably one of the best intros to a game ever, so we're actually going to sit and enjoy it. I will try not to talk too much over the cutscenes, because Metal Gear Solid 2 is one of those games that you really, really have to take it. The whole Metal Gear series actually is one of those games that you really have to sit and just like listen. That's it. And not many games have that these days. That's how amazing this game is. I'm going to turn the game volume down a bit. It's coming through a bit loud. I do apologise for that. Very nice. I forgot to do that. That's my bad. Let's hear that. It's a little bit hard. One of the time is nice a little bit. I think that'll do. Yeah. Alright, we'll have it there. We'll see how it goes. Paul Eating is a funny story. Paul Eating's actually in the game Evil Zone, if you remember that game. It's a fighting game on the PlayStation. It was really fun. And Paul Eating is one of the narrators in it at the start of the game. Oh, it's gonna be so good to hear David Hayter's voice as Snake again. Oh, so good. I haven't really played Metal Gear Solid 5, and I think that's another reason why I kind of want to give Peace Walker a try one day. Because I really want to do it. It's one of those games I want to do, but when I first played it, I just found it so jarring, you know? So different. And that's not a bad thing. Not really. That's really a good thing, you know? Kojima wanted to change it up. So I give him every respect for changing it up. It's just such a fucking piss take that he didn't get to do what he really wanted to do with Metal Gear Solid 5. It just angers me. Not so much the game, just, you know, it's not the game's fault. It's just what Konami and Kojima were going through at the time. I mean, I'm not gonna sound like a douche here, but in a way, he made Konami. You know, he made that company. This is the series that made them what they are. Or what they were, I should say now. So I am literally shaking off 5 years of Rust and going back to this. I'm so happy about it. When I heard this was on backwards compatibility earlier this week, I was like instantly buying it and instantly doing this playthrough again. So yes, the old one will be deleted because there's really no reason for that one to be up anymore. I don't want like 2 playthroughs of the same game. And you know, to be fair, this isn't really a redemption run of anything because, to be fair, I think my worst performance in Metal Gear Marathon was Metal Gear Solid 4. I think that was my worst performance because I hadn't played that one before. See, Metal Gear Solid 4 was a strange one because I hadn't even played that before. I might just leave this all as it is. Captions, I'm assuming, is subtitles. Yeah, I think we'll probably just leave that as it is. I'm playing on the Xbox One through backwards compatibility. When I originally did the Metal Gear Solid Marathon, I actually... No, I won't read that. I actually played it on the PlayStation 3, so with the camera at the time. So, all right, let's go to a new game. It's quite the thing because Metal Gear Solid 1 and 2 in particular had this backstory that you could just sit and either watch the cutscene of Metal Gear Solid 1 or read that stuff in Metal Gear Solid 2. The story is fictional and all similarities to characters, groups, or coincidental. Yeah, that's what they said at the time.
2 years ago, we had classified intelligence that a new type of Metal Gear was scheduled for transport. The whole thing stank, but our noses have been out in the cold too long.
Shit, I need to check something. Yeah, I need to mute my TV in case my soundbar interrupts everything. Just a good thing about the Xbox and PC playthroughs that I'm doing right now. I can have a headset plugged in. With the PlayStation 4 I can't do it. I think that's the one thing that kind of maybe niggles at me about the PlayStation 4 is you can't put a headset on and listen to it through there and have it come through the HDMI. I don't know why that is. So yeah, 5 years ago I had a camera and at the time like I said, I was a baby on YouTube back then in a way. My camera actually didn't have a battery charger at the time, because it was only in like mid 2013, early 2014 that I bought this camera